Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07. Good Monday morning to you. It's O'Connor and Company here from your nation's capital. Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. And coming up at 7:05, we'll be joined by Joe DeGeneva. Then at 8:05, Phil Wegman, who covers the White House for Real Clear Politics. And at 8:35, Chuck Thies, D.C. political analyst, talk about the latest report on the D.C. police chief who resigned last week. We're getting a lot more information about that. And Julie, good morning, good Monday. It's a rough, horrible news that we're covering, but there's also some good things going on in the world, and we'll get to all of that as well.
Yeah.
And what a day! And I was all hyped about Army Navy, so Saturday was an incredible day in Baltimore, which not a lot of people can say. Let's face it.
Well, congratulations! It was a great game.
Unbelievable, incredible game. Just exactly what you want from Army Navy.
That's right.
You know, one point loss. It is tragic, and if I were an Army fan, I would be feeling it today. I would.
At least it was close. At least
that one's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And I also want, and we'll talk about it a little later in the program, but the reception for the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, was absolutely overwhelming in a stadium filled with, God, it must have been 75,000. To hear the roar of that crowd for the President, it really does sort of shine a light on how different our country is in certain areas of our nation, and I don't mean geographic areas. Here we are just about 35 miles from the Beltway, and it's all parents and friends and family of the cadets and midshipmen or retired military. People just honor and love our military, and they have a very different reception for the President than you would get if it were, a different audience, let's just say.
Right. It's nice.
And, by the way, one of the greatest versions of the Star-Spangled Banner you will ever hear anywhere. Find the video of the combined glee clubs of the Naval Academy and the West Point Military Academy singing the national anthem, and you will be in love with our country again. So let's turn. I'm trying to delay this story as much as possible because it is so horrible and so depressing. As we saw, sadly, in Sydney, Australia over the weekend, the net result of the slogan, globalize the Intifada. On Saturday, I guess technically it was Sunday in Australia, December 14th, a father and son jihadist attackers, Sajid Akram and Naveed, opened fire on about 1,000 people celebrating Hanukkah by the sea at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. 15 were killed, including a 10-year-old girl and a rabbi and a Holocaust survivor. Over 40 were injured. The two were linked to the ISIS terrorist group, and there was an ISIS flag as well as some makeshift explosives that were recovered after the shooting. There is an amazing piece of video footage, I hope you've seen it, Julie, of a bystander named Ahmed Al-Ahmed, who came up from behind one of the gunmen and wrestled the rifle away from him. He was wounded, by the way, but he is an absolute hero for jumping up and stopping.
I mean, just incredible.
Incredible. It should also be pointed out that Australia has some of the strictest gun laws in the Western Hemisphere. Well, sorry, they're not in the Western Hemisphere, are they? In the West, let's say.
Yep.
In Western nations. There was a mass shooting about, I want to say, 20 years ago, and the people of Australia, through their parliament, decided that was enough. We're going to confiscate everybody's gun. We're going to...
They did a big buyback. They just destroyed, and now you need to. It's insane what is the rules or the laws in Australia. You have to prove that you need a gun. You need to prove that you need a gun, and it can't just be for. I mean, there's some weird thing where it can't just be for self-defense. You have to have a really compelling reason. Anyway.
Yeah.
it's very hard to own a gun.
Obviously, these two didn't have any trouble getting guns.
Well, we know that from here in the U.S. too.
And nobody was there. No one was armed and able to defend themselves. This guy had to come up and risk his life to wrestle this guy
unarmed,
from behind, unarmed, and wrestle the gun away from him. I mentioned this also because there are now calls for stricter gun laws in Australia. So it's like you can't make it up.
Never fails.
It's like a parody at this point.
I mean, and I will just say really quickly, the man who wrestled that gun away from the shooter, from this murderer, he was enormous. He was enormous, and so could overpower this gunman. Sorry, women. Sorry, ladies.
That's right.
You can't defend yourself.
You try that.
Yeah.
You try that. And I'm sorry if you're a Jew now. If I'm Jewish, if my friends are Jewish, I have friends who are Jewish. If they're not obtaining a self-defense firearm,
what are you doing?
And training and getting a permit for concealed carry here in America, you're nuts.
And working hard to change the laws so that everyone can conceal carry.
Right.
Right.
You
need to start
it's existential
voting
at this point.
The right way.
We saw attacks in Europe as well on Jewish gatherings and Jewish events. There were a lot of Hanukkah concerts, lots of Hanukkah celebrations, and in Amsterdam and in other Western nations, you saw. And I believe there was
Christmas
the event. Christmas events that are being canceled now. Because you can't have a Christmas celebration.
We can't have a New Year's celebration. Yeah, I mean, this is the new reality. Like, this is the tyranny of the minority. This is bringing in, over the last 10 years, millions of people into your country who refuse to assimilate, who have no respect for Christians, who actually openly say, we want to replace the Christian population. We want France and England and all of these Western nations to recognize Sharia law. And you have some city council members who are more than willing to do that, despite the fact that Sharia law subjects women to horrific conditions. Yeah, so this is the reality. And we're starting to see it now. Canceling New Year's parties. Or New Year's celebration, canceling Christmas
Paris
celebration.
Will not have their New Year's celebration
in Germany,
with fireworks.
Yeah, in Germany, the Christmas markets are now surrounded by barriers so that you can't drive a van through them.
And there are videos of Sydney, Australia now on October 8th, 2023. This would be the day after the October 7th terrorist attacks. There are videos showing migrants, Arab and Muslim migrants who have moved to Sydney, Australia under their very lax laws, their immigration laws, taking to the streets, waving Palestinian flags, and shouting, "Kill the Jews," the day after the October 7th terrorist attacks. This is what globalizing the Intifada looks like. And yet, the Prime Minister of Australia is such a weak, feckless man.
Well, on September 21st, 2025, he came out and recognized the, quote, state of Palestine.
Right.
Not enough. It's never going to be enough, folks.
Yeah, it should just be clear here. The Jews in Australia who were murdered in cold blood over the weekend by ISIS-inspired terrorists, they were not engaged in a political activity. They were not celebrating the state of Israel. It was not a Zionist celebration. It had nothing to do with Israel. It had nothing to do with Zionism. It had nothing to do with politics. It was a Hanukkah celebration.
And there you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was celebrating.
It does have something to do with something, doesn't it?
These beautiful, righteous victims in Sydney were celebrating an event at the temple where the Maccabees were able to reconsecrate the temple from the hedonistic Greeks who had defaced it and kept their lamps burning for 8 days, even though they only had 1 day's worth of oil. And it was centuries before Muhammad was born. But they were slaughtered in cold blood. And your Prime Minister of Australia, as you just said, Julie, the person who very recently recognized the Palestinian state, he made a statement. He made a couple of statements. I'll let you hear it in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
The Prime Minister of Australia, of course, has now done exactly what you expect him to do. He has called for stricter gun control in Sydney, Australia, after this attack.
To conclude finally by saying that the government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws. And this afternoon at 4 o'clock I will put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used or licensed by individuals.
Yeah, that'll do it. And
That'll do it.
Maybe you might want to put a limit on the number of terrorists you let into the country.
Yeah, that's an idea.
I mean, I'm just spitballing here.
I love the Babylon Bee solution.
What's that?
To halt violence against Jews, Australia bans Hanukkah. There you go.
That'll solve it.
I'm just waiting for this to come out.
There are also reports from eyewitnesses there that there were police around and they were
nervous,
frozen, and stunned. Here, this is a man who was at the event, and I'll play the audio for you so you can hear it. It's a little lengthy, but he goes into the detail that the police were there and they seemed stunned and frozen and not taking any action. Because, see, we're told we can't have our own guns to protect ourselves and defend ourselves. Let the police and the professionals handle that.
Yeah.
Right? Well,
yeah.
Here's the eyewitness account.
Yes, there was two shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge, and just start to shoot for 20 minutes. They shoot, change magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes with 4 policemen there. Nobody give fire back. Nothing. Like they are froze. Like for.
Did you hear that? For 20 minutes, they just shoot, changed magazines and kept shooting. 4 police officers there. They did nothing. They were frozen.
Larry, I know that you and I like a lot of the same sort of shows on Netflix, whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's a show called Happy Valley. It takes place in the UK somewhere. Yeah. Love this show. But if you watch this show as an American, the entire time you're watching the show, the police officers get the crap beat out of them. And all they have are these batons, okay? Yes. Like this woman actually goes into a house with a known murderer, okay, who's like kidnapped a woman. And all she has is her baton and gets the crap beaten out. She doesn't have a gun. And that it starts to seep in as you're watching this. You're like, wait, why doesn't anyone have a gun? And you realize, and I don't know if it's true in Australia that the cops can't carry guns, but you wonder about the training that they're getting. You wonder if the anti-gun sentiment has gotten to a point in Australia where they're just not training in a way to face these kinds of violent acts. Because it's astonishing there was a lot more eyewitness testimony that I heard over the weekend of the police acting like cats in a room full of rocking chairs. They just didn't know what to do. This is so funny that and reinforces the notion that I have a work wife and a real life wife, because Meredith, of course, a gun-toting, babe from Oklahoma. Yes. We will watch. I think I turned you on to Slow Horses. Have you watched Slow Horses now? Which is a great British drama about MI5 and MI6 and all the drama. And these are agents. These are CIA type agents, and they're going up against Islamic terrorists and Russian terrorists. Throwing staplers. Yes, throwing office equipment at them because they're not allowed to have guns. Right. It's the funniest, and you're so right that it's just sort of written into these storylines because that's the reality. They don't recognize, like nobody, right. None of the characters. Everybody in the UK is like, okay, that's fine, that makes sense. Yeah, right. Whereas Americans are like, what is going on? None of the characters ever say, "Could you please let us have some guns here?" It's just sort of built into the storyline that's the reality that they live with. And Meredith and I are watching, saying, "Get a gun!
Get a freaking gun. And, and here we are in Australia. You had two statements from politicians in Australia. One, the one you just heard, which was, we're going to go back to Parliament and we're going to enact stricter gun control laws to keep this sort of thing from happening, which, of course, won't keep these things from happening. And the second thing you heard, of course, was the Norm Macdonald joke, which was that they were very, very concerned that this would reflect badly on their vibrant and diverse Muslim community in Australia. Well, because diversity is their strength.
Well, and let's not forget, then there's this video footage of this man literally sneaking up on one of the gunmen and taking his gun. Okay? And everybody's applauding him, which I think is great. I'm not detracting anything from this guy. He's so brave. But everybody, you can imagine the way in which Americans are like, wow, that guy is so brave, right? Yeah. If only he'd had a gun, right? And Australian British people are like, yep, that's what you got to do. You got to sneak up on a guy, right? And get his gun from him. Whereas Americans are like, think of how much better this would have been. He wouldn't have had to do that if someone would have had a gun to defend themselves.
It's the only thing that you can think of when you see this story. And of course, obviously, to pray for all of those who were victimized by this horrific violence, this horrific attack, this radical Islamic terrorism that sadly we saw many occurrences of over the last several days. It's awful because, mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep. It's 6:24.
I'm sure many of you have been watching some of the drama surrounding Erica Kirk and Candace Owens. It's such a shame, and we'll fill you in on the details. Keep it here. It's 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37, it's O'Connor and Company, Larry and Julie here on this Monday morning, 15th day of December. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenevo will be our guest. 8:05, Phil Wegman, Real Clear Politics, and 8:35, Chuck Thies. It's Larry and Julie. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
We've been watching with some amazement and horror and wonderment over the bizarre rantings of Candace Owens and her insistence that what we have learned about the assassination of Charlie Kirk is all a smokescreen. That's not the real story. Yeah. She's bounced between saying that she never says anything, does she? It's always a suggestion.
Right. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. That it was either an inside job, that Erica Kirk may have been involved with it, Turning Point USA may have known about it.
His best friends, security.
Maybe it was the IDF, maybe it was the FBI, we don't know. But none of the official story makes any sense to us. And meanwhile, we had the arraignment of the man in custody accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, and the DNA is everywhere. It seems to be a rather open and shut case here against this guy. But that's exactly what they'd want you to believe, you see.
Right.
We had some movement in this story, including, I'll cut to the chase, Erica Kirk has now publicly announced that she will be meeting privately with Candace Owens today.
The magnanimity of that woman.
Yeah, the fact that she's... Yeah.
Because I don't think if someone treated me that way after if I'm not even going to say it, but I think I'd want to be alone in a room with them, but for a different reason.
So Erica Kirk believes this will end this, and I hope she's right. I'm afraid it's just going to exacerbate it, especially because only two people will know what happens inside that room, and based on Candace Owens' previous behavior, she will just say what she wants to say to continue to get the attention that she wants. Here, let me give you, before we get to what Erica Kirk said in this town hall with Barry Weiss that she participated in, let me play for you what Charlie Kirk's producer has sort of laid out here with regard to the accusations Candace Owens has made. This is cut 10.
Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for this show. She's made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees. She has suggested that Michael McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, knew Charlie would be murdered, was happy that he died, and stayed silent because he was told he would be the next Charlie. She has suggested Michael is not his real name. It is. I have seen his birth certificate myself. She has called it suspicious that Mikey's wife, who works at Turning Point, helped plan the campus tour event where Charlie was murdered, which she didn't, by the way. She doesn't work on campus events. Candace has suggested the Utah Valley University event was unusual and its details suggested a, quote, inside job. She has claimed that foreign aircraft have followed Erica Kirk around the country and that Turning Point has lied about this happening. She has accused us of lying about Charlie wanting Erica to take over for him if he died. She has suggested Charlie's security team intentionally denied him first aid after the shooting to ensure that he died. She has raised suspicions about the head of our technical team because he took an SD card out of a camera.
It actually goes on and on. It's insane, these things. And Turning Point USA, and that's Blake Neff, the producer of the show. They were planning on doing a whole expose addressing each and every one of these things because too many people are watching and listening and thinking, oh, there must be something there. We're only 3 months after the death of Charlie Kirk, and the widow, Erica, has now had to address all of this head on as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I also think it's important to say that that Candace claims, among her many weird claims, that, she was still part of Turning Point. She wasn't for years. She
was
been.
Dismissed years ago when she started to go off the rails.
And, that Charlie continued to be her best friend. Apparently they hadn't talked in a lot of time. I'm not sure if it was years, but they had not spoken. And so I think people go, why would she do this? Why would she do this? She's got to create content. You've got a podcast. You've got to.
I guess.
She is making.
We all have to
tons of
create
money.
content, and
she is creating. But she is getting she's this kind of like conspirator. People love There
is always an audience.
It's like bees
for
to
it.
honey.
I think there may be some other stuff going on there, too, with regard to her maybe unrequited feelings. Mm-hmm. If you watch some of the old videos with Charlie and Candace, there's, she obviously was very fond of him. And who knows what else might be going on there with regard to this relationship. Here's Erica Kirk on this CBS News town hall that Barry Weiss engineered. Confronting some of the questions that have been raised about Turning Point USA, and it's, I'll just let this speak for itself.
Hate is hate. It's evil. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel, Jewish people. It's awful. Awful. Anti-Semitism is what healing factor comes out of hating Jewish people? What healing factor comes out of hating Christians? What healing factor comes out? Hate in general. Nothing. Nothing. Charlie always would say very clearly, Jew hate was brain rot. He would always say it. We've been to Israel twice together. And to be able to walk in the place where our Lord walked and see the Bible come to life in Technicolor, how could you hate that place? How could you hate the Jewish people?
There was a lot more in that town hall. I'm sure you'll see some clips or hear about it. We'll try to play a little bit more a little further on in the program today. It's 6:43.
Never miss an episode of The Derek Hunter Show. If you do, we just might talk about you. 3 o'clock on WMAL.
There was a moment in this so-called town hall that Barry Weiss engineered at CBS News that has a lot of people talking and questioning whether this was an appropriate bit of journalism. Again, Erica Kirk, grieving widow, but yes, at the same time, she is doing media. She is going out there. And so a lot of people say, well, all bets are off, right? But again, the purpose of having her on was to talk about the death of her husband and the father of her children. And you would think that there would be some level of sensitivity to how you handle these moments and not make it just a straight up political event, right?
Yeah.
And for people who think that Bari Weiss is conservative, I think we've been saying this for quite some time. She's not.
No.
She is liberal. The only difference is she's not crazy.
She's an old
like the
liberal.
people at the
She's
New York
an old
Times.
school- she's an actual, like, you know, like she believes in free speech. She believes she's
think Tim Russert. But she's still a Democrat.
annoying.
She's still a liberal Democrat.
Right.
And so, and I don't know. I think this is a questionable moment. We haven't gotten word whether Erica Kirk knew this was going to happen or whether it was an ambush. But the moment Charlie Kirk was assassinated, he was engaged in one of those campus things where people would challenge him and he would respond to them. So at the moment he got that bullet in his throat from an assassin, there was a man there challenging him on the microphone. And so Bari Weiss brought that man on to challenge Erica Kirk.
I know.
So here, cut 15. Let's go to it.
Erica, as you know, the last person that Charlie ever spoke to was a Utah Valley student named Hunter Kozak. He was asking Charlie a question that day when he was shot, and he's here tonight, and he wants to ask you a question.
Hi there. Erica, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your calls for peace and unity, and I'm likewise horrified by the people in my so-called camp who were cheering about Charlie's murder. I believe that they stoke the flames of violence. But even worse is when powerful, influential people on either side of the aisle stoke the flames.
Here we go.
When they do it, the flames can become an inferno.
The but.
And then he goes
just
on,
everything he said before the but.
That's right, the big but. And he wants to go on. By the way, I never heard him say, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for what you're going through. I can't believe this happened. I hate that I'm connected. None of that. It's like, isn't it worse that Trump and J.D. Vance... right?
Yeah, right.
And I just don't understand the journalistic decision to say, like, hey, I want to bring up this guy who was at the crime scene and
literally, Charlie Kirk was probably looking in this guy's eyes when he was
when he
killed.
was murdered, and he wanted to confront your husband on his intolerance and his political views. So now I'm going to have him do the same to you.
Yeah, why don't? And the guy starts off saying, "I'm really horrified by my camp, my so-called camp, who celebrated." Why don't you stick with that, bud?
Yeah.
Because nobody on your side has fully examined why that happened and has questioned people on your side who cheered. Where are the close-up interviews with people who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death? Why are you doing this? Why are you celebrating the death of this young man, this young father and husband? No.
He went on to ask Erica Kirk at this moment to condemn Donald Trump and his violent rhetoric. And Erica Kirk responded with class and dignity, which is, frankly, more than I can say about Bari Weiss at this point. I just think this was a bad moment there, Bari. CBS is going to be CBS. They just can't help themselves. It's 6:52.